Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. In this edition, we'll be discussing Tottenham's trip to Anfield in the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg. Of course, it has finished Liverpool 4, Tottenham Hotspur 0. Spurs are not going to Wembley for the Carabao Cup final, sadly. Now, we're live on YouTube, we're live on X, on Facebook and Twitch, so please do get involved. Let us know how you are feeling right now as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. As I mentioned, Liverpool 4, Tottenham 0. Gakpo putting Liverpool 1-0 up after 34 minutes. Mo Salah doubling Liverpool's lead, making it 2-0 from the penalty spot after 51 minutes. Szoboszlai making it 3-0 after 75 minutes. And 10 minutes from time, Virgil van Dijk heading home, Liverpool 4th, securing their place at Wembley against Newcastle. Now, the match facts and stats here, Liverpool had 64.1% of the ball to Tottenham's 35.9%. Shots, Liverpool had a staggering 26 to Tottenham's 5. Shots on target, Liverpool had 10 to Tottenham's dreadful stats here. Zero shots on target from Tottenham Hotspur this evening. Total touches inside the box, Liverpool with a huge 54, Tottenham 8. Goalkeeper saves, Liverpool 0, Tottenham 6. Fouls, Liverpool 5, Tottenham 8. And corners, Liverpool 14, Tottenham 4. Now, after the game, Jamie Carragher has actually come out and said, when I look at those three Tottenham midfielders, I thought they were a disgrace, no matter who the manager is. And Postecoglou, after the game, has come out and said, the major lesson to learn is that we can't go into games like this looking to protect or try to get the results in other ways than what's got us to this point. Postecoglou also said we knew the first 20 minutes we had to keep it solid in terms of our decision making, and to keep them a second goal is disappointing. We never got to grips of any part of the game. And Jamie Redknapp on Sky Sports this evening has come out and said, I cannot remember a team in my lifetime going down with less fight than today. And Jamie Redknapp on Captain Heung-min Son said, I just don't see him as a captain. Now, I've got two guests with me. Channel regular Craig Dearman is back with us. Craig, how are you?
Yeah, I've been better, to be honest, Chris. I've been better. That was a pretty horrific evening, wasn't it? And I can't imagine what it was like for you guys that travelled all the way up there. It was to be served up there. That was I've seen some bad semi-final performances in my time by us. That takes the biscuit. That was just horrific.
We've also got Blake Darrow with us all the way from Adelaide in Australia. Blake, how are you? Great to have you here for the first time on the Spurs Chat podcast, but I'm so sorry to invite you on the podcast for the first time after a result and a performance like this.
Chris, it's quite all right, and thank you so much for having me, mate. I wanted to start by saying tonight, I and many Spurs fans are probably really hurting right now and hurting badly. It's never fun to be in a semi-final, let alone losing at 4-0. It was a really poor performance, as we know. But I hope to bring a bit of optimistic voice of reason tonight where I can. It'll be hard, and there'll be some home truths, as some of the pundits have already pointed out. The across the ground there were some really poor individual efforts tonight. But I hope to bring some spin of positivity where I can, find some glimmers of hope. And as I said, it's an honour to be here. So thanks for having me.
Blake, let's start the show with you. Let's get your thoughts on today's game because, of course, Spurs, a lot of Spurs fans thought that, going into this game, we had a 1-0 lead. Of course, it was always going to be tough at Anfield. But the fight, the desire, there didn't seem to be much this evening from the Tottenham Hotspur team that Ange Postecoglou put out, which just seems to be so disappointing for us yet again. I get the fact that Liverpool are a great team, but did they show enough fight and desire for you this evening?
No, I don't think they did, actually. And I had it in my notes to mention this tonight that I coach Australian rules football here in Australia at a amateur level. And the number one thing that I always tell my players is that, amongst everything, if I see a really good effort, and that will often determine the result of the game. Now, that's 9 times out of 10. You go there with intensity, you bring effort, you bring good energy, and 9 times out of 10, I feel you get a result. And that's in football too. When we're talking at the top level, there's a 1 in 10 where I feel that you're not quite up to what the opposition are dishing up either. So, and the fact of the matter is, we know Liverpool are a much better side, and we know that their quality on the bench is even as well, away from the first 11 that they can put out. It's deep. They bat deep, and they've got a really good squad with a manager that's very pragmatic in his approach. But what I can't accept is when there's no effort, like I saw from the playing group tonight. It was 1-0 at half time. That was probably my initial prediction. I thought that it might be a 1-0 sort of first goal, and they might nick one to start off with, and then we work our way into the game. Hopefully, nick a 2 or 3 or draw. But as the second half went on, it didn't even look like we were laying a glove. We couldn't get on the score sheet. We couldn't get a shot on target tonight. So there's obviously some areas of concern there. But I think the nucleus of that midfield that Ange put out, they really let him down tonight, and they let the supporters down. So they were my initial thoughts, and obviously the margins at elite level, that's the 1 in 10 that I was talking about, where that you're probably not quite good enough on that 1 out of 10 occasion. And I thought it was a really poor mindset overall, to be honest with you. And I've been supporting Spurs for 14 years now, and that was easily the worst cup semi-final performance I've seen as well.
Blake, what do you make of the criticism on Heung-min Son being Spurs captain?
I disagree with it, because I think he shows leadership in different ways. I think he shows leadership by example, and he has tried. He is one of the ones that doesn't give up, and I think he probably does have moments where he drops off a little bit, and with regard to his form, with not so much his effort, but certainly his form is where it drops off sometimes. But I don't look around that dressing room and see a more fitting leader, someone that's been there a long time. I watched the interview during the week that Spurs released with him as, Ben Davies talking about how Heung-min Son is his son's godfather. And, that kid must just be so lucky, because he is such a lovely person. And I understand that to be a captain, you don't necessarily, being a lovely person only gets you so far. Of course, that makes sense. And you do need to have that bit of that killer instinct. But I think Sonny shows great leadership in other areas of his game. What I will say, though, on the flip, is that I didn't think it was there tonight. It was very quiet. He was quiet tonight. It was a quiet performance from us overall. And, I think the criticism's a bit unfair at the best of times. But tonight, it probably is warranted, and he probably will need to take a bit of responsibility for that tonight, which he does in the public eye quite often, and I'm sure he does behind the scenes in the change room too.
Craig, let's come to you. What do you make of the performance tonight?
I just think from almost minute one, it was just gutless, spineless, no leaders on the pitch. It was supposed to be, it was our biggest game of the season. It was just players not putting the effort in. The midfield was diabolical. Another injury to Richarlison. That doesn't look good for his calf. That means him out for a good few weeks, I'd imagine. You could see his frustration thumping the ground after he went down. At least Richarlison was trying a bit of shithousery, but then he went off. But it just wasn't good enough right across the team, right across the pitch. Very few players come out of it with anything tonight. Jed Spence, I thought, was pretty good. Archie Gray tried. Funnily enough, look, it's all the people that you remember, all the youngsters. Ben Davies was okay, not bad. I've seen worse debuts than Danso, but come on, you can't really give any of them too much kudos, to be honest. Jamie Carragher said on Sky Sports, it was never in doubt before the game. It's Tottenham. When did Tottenham ever win a big game? When did Tottenham ever go anywhere and surprise you and win against the odds? The odds were massively in favour of Liverpool. They're at home at Anfield. They're the best team in the country and possibly in Europe right now. This is not just the Spurs team. It never shocks you, and to do something that they'll do something out of the ordinary. I'm trying to think of the last big game they won, and I'll probably have to go back to that Ajax game in the Champions League semi-final. And they were very lucky. They got battered most of the game. Well, we certainly got battered tonight. Liverpool were in second gear, didn't need to really get out of it. I thought that first half they were a lot slower than you used to with Liverpool, and we should have just gone at them. A bit more of a pragmatic midfield. Didn't really play with a number 10 at all. Sat back and we got punished. I just don't take anything out of that game tonight. I don't think there's anything to learn. Like I say, no leaders. It's just rock bottom. I've seen us play some shocking semi-finals. As I say, that was the worst by far. So bad.
How can the players not be up for a semi-final, Craig?
Yeah, God knows, mate. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but you put any of us in a Spurs shirt, if we were fit enough to play, and you would run your arse off. You would run through brick walls just to wear that shirt. I saw Ramon Vega put on Twitter, you know, where's the effect of where's the pride wearing the shirt, you know? And I just didn't see anything like that tonight. It was our chance to get to Wembley. It's one game, 90 minutes. I know it's Liverpool. I know they're the best property team in the world right now, but come on, you've got to show more effort than you did there. Apart from anything else, for the 6,000 travelling fans going up there on a Thursday evening, you know, many of them having to take time off work, perhaps losing money if you're self-employed, and to go and be served up that. It's absolutely disgusting. The players should hang their heads in shame. If you lose a game and you're showing the effort, fans don't mind that. Fans don't mind that at all. If you're trying your best and you're showing the effort, no problem at all. But that in a semi-final with a chance to play at Wembley, come on. They've all got to take a very long, hard look at themselves, and I really fear for us now on Sunday because Villa will wipe the floor with us if we play like that.
We've also got Josh Cowham with us this evening. Josh, how are you? And give us your thoughts on this evening's defeat at Anfield.
Yeah, disappointed, Chris. Been a long day. Apologies for the technical difficulties. I couldn't get in until now. Yeah, just echo what Craig said, really. I think it's just so disappointing. It just didn't turn up from minute one. It was such.
Jamie Redknapp's just said, I cannot remember a team in my life going down with less than a fight than today. I can't, you know, Jamie Redknapp says some stupid things, but I totally agree with him there. Les Ferdinand said they weren't good with the ball, they weren't good without the ball. Tottenham failed to register a shot on target for the first time under Ange Postecoglou. It kind of, you know, I could go on. There's so many people saying exactly the same thing as what we're thinking. It's just terrible.
Blake, let's come to you on that exact stat of not having a shot on target. Are you surprised with the way that Ange Postecoglou sets up? And a lot of people were talking this week about, will Ange be more pragmatic? Will he be more defensive? Because, of course, we saw that defensive display in that second half against Brentford on Sunday. Some Spurs fans even joked before the game saying, will Ange park the bus? We knew that weren't going to happen. But to fail to have a shot on target in such an important game, you know, I know we went into this game, you know, a 1-0 lead from the first leg, which was great. Are you surprised though that we didn't really offer anything in that final third?
I am pretty surprised because I was expecting, you know, the first 20 minutes at Anfield, it's going to be a cauldron of chaos, you could say. And it was going to be really tough going there and trying to defend a 1-0 lead. I would say that a lot of Spurs fans were happy with the 1-0 lead going into it, but it didn't feel like quite enough. And I think that that's exactly how it reflected today. We probably needed to nick an extra one at home, 2-0, make it feel a little not comfortable, but going with a bit more confidence into that game. And you can probably be a bit pragmatic and sit back a little bit against a Brentford, but at Liverpool they'll pick you apart. And I think he was damned if he did, and he was damned if he didn't. I feel, especially with such an attacking force that Liverpool have, and you know, what we have to remember too is that it's a makeshift back five at the moment, and here's a crazy stat, and I will get to the point around the 0 shots on target in a sec. Let's, for argument's sake, talk about the 5 starting defenders that we have available to us when they're all fit and available. So Vicario, obviously the jury's out with Kinski now entering the picture. Porro, Van de Ven, Romero, Udogie, right? They have started a total of 16 games together. And the result of when they have played has been 12 wins, 1 draw, and 3 losses. And one of those losses was actually the infamous Chelsea game at home. So when we can then play Ange ball and that style of attack when we've got our best back five. But at the moment, it's a very makeshift back five. You have You have Davis playing there. You have Gray playing at central defence. Kevin Danzo's been at the club for a matter of days. It was always going to be pushing shit uphill. And I know that's probably, it's hard to hear that because we do want our team to go there and do well. But at the same time, you can't go to Anfield and not register a shot on target and try and defend a 1-0. That to me was more than anything. It didn't feel that we were brave and we were willing to take on the play, and that we were willing. You know, our wingers were going to jump in and try and save the day and cut in, cut across, get some balls in the box. We looked lackluster from the start, and we looked scared. That's the brutal truth of the matter. And it's deflating hearing that, because going into a semi-final at Anfield, you know, that's exactly, you want to go there with flair, you want to go there with intensity, and it just wasn't there today. And the players really have to look in the mirror and think about the ambition that they really want for this club. That's come up a lot in the comments I can see here as well. It felt like we lacked ambition tonight, and we were scared to take that step onto Wembley. So, yeah, 0 shots on target, dismal.
We've lost Josh this evening through technical difficulties, so we'll continue just the three of us. Craig, how much of it is lack of quality? How much is it, that Liverpool are such a great team to, that there wasn't enough fight and desire this evening? Because I'm with you, it's a semi-final. I feel like sometimes that if the fans actually spoke to the players, the management, etc., and told them exactly what it meant, I'm so disappointed yet again. If you lose a game to a team like Liverpool, I can accept it. If you go down fighting, did we go down fighting in that game today? I felt like even at times you look at some of the players and they're just jogging around. There was no real pressing in that final third as well from some of the forward players. And it just seems like such a disappointing night yet again, particularly when you look at the league position. We've spoken a lot in the last couple of months about, everyone sort of pinning their hopes on cup competitions. And then to go out of a cup competition like we did this evening, 14th in the Premier League table, it seems like a disaster.
It was exactly that. It was a disastrous performance. And to answer your question, definitely there's a huge element how good Liverpool are, how good their players are, how much better their players are than ours, how good their squad is, how the confidence levels in their squad are high, ours is rock bottom. But as you say, it's the desire. And Ange did switch it up. He went a bit more pragmatic, went a bit more defensive, which some people have been asking for. And look what happened. You say we can't play handball at the moment. We can't play defensively either. It worked to a degree. Bit of a change for Sunday against Brentford, but that's Brentford. It's a whole different kettle of fish going to Anfield. Yeah, do you know what, though? Even if we tried to play proper handball with a high line, today we would have got ripped apart anyway if you put it in the display like those players put in. So I think the writing was on the wall. As soon as, I've always said first 5-10 minutes you can see how a game's going to go. You could see how that game was going to go today. They weren't peppering us, but you could see the amount of possession, the amount of chances we let them have. They were always going to score. And it wasn't ever going to be just 1-0. It was always going to be 2, 3 or 4. The players, like you say, the front players didn't do much at all. I wasn't impressed by Sonny's performance today. Richarlison obviously had to go off. Kulusevski was more or less non-existent. He made a few good runs, but didn't do much at all. As I say, it's the midfield. They were just terrible. But like you say, you put a couple of fans in front of the players and tell them exactly what it means. And look, I'm sure some of them are trying, but if that's how good they are when they try, we're bang in trouble. It's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. And I'm just sick to death of this club putting in performances like this in big games.
Yeah. Before we go any further, let's hear from Ange Postecoglou. This is his post-match press conference.
Yeah, look, it's fair to say we didn't really get to the levels we needed to tonight. It was always going to be a big challenge for us. They're obviously a very good side and in a great moment with all their players sort of in very good form, very settled. But, for us to kind of give ourselves an opportunity, we had to be a lot more aggressive with them without the ball, and we weren't. We allowed them to sort of control the game and dictate sort of where it was played, and in the end, that's good for us.
How damaging do you feel it can be for the season as a whole to miss out on that opportunity, the chance to really lift the season?
Yeah, it's disappointing. It was a great opportunity for us tonight to get to a final. We didn't take that opportunity. We didn't give ourselves a chance to take the opportunity, which is probably more disappointing. But ultimately, it's an opportunity for further learning and an opportunity for us to kind of atone for that by making amends and with a stronger performance on Sunday.
And what's happened to Richarlison?
It looks like his calf, so he didn't look too good after the game, so probably won't add to the list.
What do you make of the two debutantes?
Yeah, I did okay. I mean, I thought Kevin was really positive, and as was Matty. It's hard, throwing guys in after 3 training sessions is not ideal. It's part of our sort of dilemma at the moment of trying to get sort of some fluency, consistency, but also knowing we have to sort of continually, tinker with a starting lineup to account for everything that's going on. So, I thought they acquitted themselves well.
Disappointing, isn't it, that you kind of try and instill on your players to be brave and kind of push forward, and on a big night like this, they just didn't do that.
Yeah, it is. It's disappointing because, like I said, it's not the fact that we've come here and lost. Because I think that's not. It's a difficult place to come to. Like I said, they're in a great moment right now. It'd be difficult for anyone to come here, but I would have liked us to sort of play more like who we are than we did tonight. There's a lesson in there for us for sure. That if we kind of veer away from that, then it becomes an almost impossible task.
Do you think you can be fairly judged as a manager if you've got 10 players injured, or do you think, well, that's come to the game, and actually I should be judged on this performance and the performances?
I don't worry about sort of being judged or who's judging. I mean, I think ultimately my responsibility is that I try and get the players I have to perform to the best of their abilities and to tackle the challenges we've got at the moment, and everyone knows the challenges we've got. I said it's not disappointing tonight because we had an opportunity to get to a final, and they don't come around too often. So to let that slip, as I said, is disappointing, but also probably more disappointing that we didn't play in the manner we wanted to, and we know we can, which may have given us an opportunity to get through. So, like I said, there's some learnings in there for us, and we'll take those away.
So when someone like Jamie Redknapp says, I can't remember in my lifetime a team go down with less of a fight than Tottenham did today, you think that's fair comment?
You're asking me? I'd ask Jamie. He's obviously made the comment. I know, like, people get really excited about things like that. There are people on TV to give opinions, and that's what they do, and that's their job. My job is not to scan the TV or the commentary on our games. My job is to manage this football club, and whatever people think or don't think is kind of irrelevant. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really put any sort of emphasis on who we are and what we're trying to do. At the end of the day, it's everyone's allowed to have an opinion. Everyone's allowed to express that opinion. My view is I don't really need to sort of respond to that or be affected by that, because I don't care whether it's Jamie Redknapp or anyone else. I don't care. It doesn't worry me. It doesn't bother me.
And obviously they're top of the table, but how good are Liverpool? Are they as good a side as you've seen in your 2 years?
I don't really assess opposition teams. They're a good side. Like I said, they're in a great moment. They're flying in terms of all competitions. All their players are in great physical condition. Their top players are at sort of the peak of their powers. So they're in a great spot. They're a compelling side at the moment for sure. And they are where they are because of the sort of form and consistency they've shown.
Dave, final one, please.
I was just going to say, do you think belief was a problem tonight? We've had so many knocks over recent months, all the injuries, we talk about them all the time. Did the players really feel that it was there for them tonight, or?
I think they understood the opportunity for sure. But when the reality of it out there hits you, sometimes it's a bit different to sort of maybe what you envisaged in your head. I said we'll learn from tonight. The major lesson we learn is that we can't sort of go into games like this looking to sort of protect or try and get results in other ways than what's got us to this point. So. I'm sure the players will learn from that. I'm sure they're disappointed by that. As much as we've missed an opportunity to get to a final, what's probably hurting even more was we didn't really give ourselves a chance with the performance tonight.
Is that the way you sort of set the way you set the team up, or was it just the way the game ended up being?
No, I didn't set the team up. Our intent was to go out there and play the same way we play every week and try and unsettle them and put pressure on them, and it never materialised. We didn't really have conviction when we had the ball either, which kind of allowed them to sort of get a control of the game. So, a whole manner of things that sort of, we didn't do that would have given us at least an opportunity to get past this stage.
Okay, thank you.
Now, we lost Josh earlier, so we've actually brought in Matt Fielder. Matt is joining us now. Matt, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Give us your thoughts on today's match.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just listening to what he was saying there. He sort of seems to say things we're all thinking. It's almost like he thought about what the things people are thinking about there about the performance. And I watched the game from minute one. And exactly that. We just didn't have that sort of drive. It was almost like we set up to try and hold back. I mean, Anfield, I've been to Anfield. The first time I said to you, the last time I was on here, I went to Anfield when I was 14 years old and saw Liverpool put 7 past us. And it's one of those sort of grounds that you have to come with an attitude. You have to commit for every ball. I just felt the midfield just didn't seem to get that. They just didn't. I don't know, the three of them together just didn't seem to get that. They had to fight for every ball. We seemed to every ball that sort of went loose seemed to be picked up by them. They had more commitment on the ball. They seemed to know what they were doing. They're very slick at passing as well, which I think was something else that I noticed. When they get the ball, they want to push forward. Every time we get the ball, we seem to not know what to do with it. We've had this conversation a few times about this. I just felt it was really lackluster. And you're up there. You've been there. It's just one of those depressing thing because that's such a loud stadium and the fans are fantastic. The people are great in Liverpool. I mean, it's a wonderful stadium, and you look around and you feel so much anger, and you look around and just see smiley faces, and it's one of those things. But I just felt tonight we just didn't go in with the right attitude. Is that the manager's fault? I don't know. I just didn't think we went in with the right sort of commitment to the game. That was it.
This is a semi-final, though, Matt.
I know. Well, exactly that. I've been to the last 4 that we've lost, or 5 that we've lost. And I've always felt that we just seem to go into these games with the kind of thing that we're going to be at Wembley with our history. There used to be a song at Tottenham years ago when I used to go, which is, and we've never lost at Wembley. And that was kind of like, when I was younger, that was kind of the thing that we got to Wembley, we win. I mean, we still are the team that's probably won the most games at Wembley, but the only reason being that is because it was our home ground. So we can still sing that. But tonight was just, I'm still kind of in kind of shock, really. I've got to go up to Carlisle to do a gig tomorrow at a festival. And I came on tonight because you lost your fellow. I just wanted to come in and chip in that we've been watching Spurs for 45, 50, 55 years. Now I've got to think, hold on, I'm 61. So I've been watching Spurs for a long time. And I think tonight, it just seemed to, it was like watching a lot of kids that just didn't seem to know what they were doing. It just felt so lost. I can't put my finger on it, really.
Craig, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on Ange Postecoglou's press conference there.
Yeah, it was just very downbeat, wasn't he? And I mean, what's he going to say? I'm not really sure how you can't really put any positives on that, and he would have got absolutely caned if he did. You know, Matthias Tell and Danso coming in. He's right there, and he had a couple of training sessions each. Interesting, actually, that Tell was, he'd only been on the pitch about 2-3 minutes, and he's trying to get the team up the pitch, waving them up the pitch and trying to G the crowd up. I mean, that's a 19-year-old trying to G up international footballers and seasoned professionals. Come on. I mean, he's come from a Bayern Munich. That's probably where that comes from. 19 years old, and he's telling players like Bentancur and Sonis effectively to get up the pitch and do what they should be doing. What an absolute statement. Yeah, as far as his press conference goes, he just looked like a defeated man, didn't he? He just looked like he looked like a Spurs manager, like how they all look towards the end. He did. That's all I can say on it. He looks absolutely defeated.
What do you mean
today? Well, I'm saying he looks like managers before they even leave or get in the boot. I just think he looks like he's had enough tonight, and he will carry on. Look, he will keep trying and trying. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. But to be honest, the team he put out tonight, as I say, it was the kind of team that possibly most of us would have put out, perhaps with being a bit more pragmatic in the middle, obviously trying to pack the midfield, stopping them coming through the middle. 3 players in that centre, international footballers, been playing the game, been playing for Tottenham long enough, know their jobs. And they were bloody awful. Now, Ansham put that team out, GM up. A lot of that was on the players tonight. Those 11 players that are on the pitch, they shouldn't have, like you said, Chris, this is the semi-final. They shouldn't need G'ing up. They should be out from minute one. And hardly any of them put in a worthwhile performance tonight. Some at less than 50%, I'd say. It was just horrific.
Blake, let's talk about the starting 11 this evening. Kinski in goal, obviously, and then Gray, Danso making his debut after signing for Spurs a couple of days ago. Davis, Spence, Bentancur, Basuma, Sarr, Kulusevski, Richarlison, and Heung-min Son as captain. And the sub-bench this evening, Austin, Pedro Porro, Reguilon, Bergvall, Ajayi, Casanova, Elise, Moore, and Tell. And Tell obviously made his debut this evening, coming on for the injured Richarlison, which again is another frustrating thing this evening. Richarlison going off. What did you make of the starting 11 today and the debut of Kevin Danso?
Yeah, I didn't think he could have done too much different, to be honest, in terms of putting an 11 out. As I agree with what Craig said, I think he could have maybe compacted the midfield a little more, but overall, I thought that was like there were some really average performances in there. Kinski, like just that blood rush to the head where he's raced out and caused the penalty. Aside from 1 to 2 decent saves, he gave the ball away in really critical moments today. I thought Yves Bissouma was really poor again. I haven't actually seen a good shift from him for a very long time now. And I think we have to start looking at playing, as painful as what it is, playing these kids and getting them more minutes than what they're already putting out. And this is the bind that we put ourselves in. We've gone with youth, we've gone with inexperience, and in these big games when you go to Anfield and hearing that we've only won 3 times in the last 20 years at Anfield and there's been a few draws in there, you're probably going to expect those performances. And we just didn't. It felt to me that we didn't have anyone that could take the game by the scruff of the neck tonight and go, right, we need to lock down here for a minute or two and just and chip the ball around or sit back and not necessarily let them come at us, but certainly weather the storm. And we did not do that today at all. In terms of, I was surprised pre-game to not see Tell starting, but on the flip, I do see that it's a 19-year-old kid coming over new country, only had a couple of training sessions at most. You don't want to put him in that cauldron to suffer straight away. But I'm glad he got an opportunity because at least he had a ping, straight off the bat, and he was very, very commanding towards more senior players of our squad, and that speaks volumes about where he's come from in Bayern Munich. That's a giant club, and he's obviously come into Spurs, tried to make an impact straight away. But I think the 11 tonight, it's as good as what it could have possibly have been. It was disappointing that Van der Ven didn't pull up as well. I thought he might have been a sneaky chance throughout the week, but not quite right. And you don't want to take the risk. So I think it was the best that he could have possibly done in terms of a lineup, but those players really need to have a hard look at themselves tonight and over the coming days leading into Villa, because if we play like that again, even though we've had great results against Villa in recent times, that could get ugly very quickly. So, yeah, they're my thoughts.
Matt, what did you make of the starting 11 and Danso's debut this evening? Because I felt in the first half he was extremely comfortable on the ball. Might have been a little bit nervous in the second half, and of course Tell and Craig rightly said, and I'm so glad that Craig brought that up right in front of the away end, trying to get the fans up, G-ing the crowd up, getting them up for the occasion. But what did you make of the starting 11 today?
It's interesting. I looked at it from the start. I thought they'd be pragmatic, but I'm always of the belief that when you go into any kind of second leg and you've got an advantage, you need to press home that advantage. And I felt that Liverpool weren't totally at the races in the first half. I felt they were there to explore, as well as they were playing. They weren't commanding. They were also being a bit pragmatic themselves. They weren't, sort of going gung for ho towards us. So I thought with the starting 11 that we had, it was like Sarr, Bissouma, and Bentancur. I mean, I'm always of the belief that if you have a midfield, you've got to have at least one person in there who wants to score or who knows where the goal is. I mean, it sounds like a stupid thing to say, but it's just the three of them are very kind of good at kind of pressing and blocking and sort of stopping players going forward. But it's not very attack-minded kind of way. And I always think that if Tottenham had gone out with the attitude of like, hey, let's get a goal, 2-0 up, then we can sit back. That was just the way I felt. I thought, why not just, they wouldn't have expected that. I think we played totally into their hands. We sat back. They kind of like held off us a little bit. Then they sort of got more and more they drove on. It became more like it was a bit of an inevitability about it. They were going to score at some point, and they did score. And we were lucky with the offside before that. But once they scored, it was like, again, because we started so slowly, we didn't have any kind of like way to any impetus to sort of get forward again. So I don't know. It seems strange for someone like Andrew, who's always been this kind of like, we play one way, this is the way I play, and all of a sudden he's decided, okay, we're gonna play a slightly different way. And it's almost like the players are as confused as he is, and that's kind of the impression I got tonight. They're thinking, well, hang on, we used to kind of, I think there was a couple of things in the commentary in the second half where Kinski was like playing the ball out, and one of the commentators said, like, I think it was Andy McCoy said, why didn't he kick the ball out? Why did he just hit it first time? You hit that every time he hit it out. It was almost as if they were playing against their natural instincts. That's the way I felt tonight. All the players didn't seem to know quite what the kind of operations modem was, what they were supposed to be doing. So yeah, I think maybe he got the starting lineup wrong. In my opinion, I think they should have gone out with a slightly more offensive attitude and thought, right, okay, let's go, let's try and get an early goal, and then we can sit back. That was just my opinion.
Matt, are you still behind Ange Postecoglou?
It's interesting. I think tonight he messed up. I think tonight he had a chance. I think the occasion probably got to him. He probably thought about it too much and thought, well, hang on, I've said this thing about getting a trophy in my second season. I like him. I think he's a really decent guy. I think he's a good bloke, and I think his philosophy of football is exactly the thing. Whether in the current circumstances, the way Levy and the way Enoch run things, whether he's the right manager for us now, I don't know. Maybe if new owners came in and they backed him and gave him the players that he needed, then I think his style is the way I'd like to see football. It's certainly his way of playing football. I certainly enjoy it, but tonight it was almost as if he was trying to kind of hold back on what his beliefs are and trying to play for the occasion, and the players didn't seem to buy into it. So in answer to your question, I think his days are numbered. I think if he loses on Sunday, he's gone. End of story.
Craig, of course, it is very disappointing that Richarlison went off injured again. Let's wait and see now how long Richarlison is going to be out for. But what did you make of his performance this evening before he went off?
I thought he was okay. As you know, I'm not the biggest Richarlison fan. I wouldn't put him above Solanke at all. But as I say, he was doing bits and pieces. He was winding up Van Dijk. Van Dijk, by the way, elbow into his throat. I'm not quite sure how that isn't that could have been a red card on other days, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse. It is what it is. But yeah, he was okay, Richarlison. He didn't do tons, but he was okay. What I would say about the calf strain, if it's a grade 2, he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks at least. So you probably won't see him again till April, perhaps at the worst, but at the best it will be end of March, beginning of April, I'd imagine. And answer there, it didn't look good. So I think you're going to be looking well into March before Richarlison's back. And I know we'll come on to it soon, but the Villa game Sunday, we're going to be going to it without a centre forward. I know Tell can play there. But is he going to play on the wing? Looks like he's going to have to go through the middle now. So yeah, another player to add to the injury list again.
Craig, what did you make of the 2 new signings who, of course, made their debuts this evening, Danso and Tell?
I agree with you. I thought Danso he looked quite solid in the first half. He made a couple of errors in the second half, looked a bit more dodgy. I think it was a bit of a baptism of fire for both of them, to be honest with you. Being thrown into a game at Anfield, they don't come much harder than that. New teammates, still getting to know the way people play. Probably didn't help. It's not a settled back 4 at the moment either. Tell obviously comes on again, thrown into the cauldron. Didn't really see enough of him to make a judgment, but it certainly wasn't a terrible performance by Tell. He was running the channels, running off the ball, tried to play passes forward and play people in. Didn't always work, but he was okay. I think they're obviously going to start him on Sunday. You'll probably get a better idea of him and Danso, to be honest with you. So yeah, baptism of fire for both of them, but not the worst performances for them, and hopefully they can help us get some better results in the very near future. Because as Matt said, I think if we lose against Villa on Sunday, sad to say, and I don't know who comes in or whatever, because I don't see the point in second hands before the end of the season, but you have to say, are his days numbered if we lose to Villa?
Well, are they? Because, he's just been backed in a transfer window, in the winter window. He's just brought new players in. He seems to be very confident about the future. Actually, Blake, let me come to you on this, because, of course, you are in Australia. What are the majority of the Australian people think at the moment about Ange Postecoglou at Spurs? Do some of them think that some Spurs fans are ungrateful, the fact that we've got this manager who's been there, done it, and got the T-shirt everywhere he's gone, and we just need to be patient with someone like him, or is it time for Spurs to move on to someone else?
I don't think ungrateful would be the word that Australian fans and wider football fans in Australia would use to describe how Ange is going at the moment. I don't get that feeling. Even the pundits on Optus Sport is our main football channel here in Australia, and I think that they cover him a lot because obviously he is Australian managing in the Premier League. So I think there is that coverage. But I would say that he's in a bind at the moment with big injury cross. We know that. But I think now that, as you said, Chris, I think now that there's been some backing for him in this January transfer window, I don't see the point of changing manager now, like right at this very moment. Even if it was like a cup loss to Villa on Sunday, I don't see who would come in at this stage of the season. And do we want to go down the path for the third time again of Ryan Mason? I think the answer to that for everyone would be no, because you're not going to get a bounce.
Blake, can I also ask, at this stage of Postecoglou being here for this amount of time now, are you surprised by that performance after he has been in charge for this amount of time, where the players clearly didn't show the desire to win a semi-final, such a huge game this evening? Are you surprised by that performance at this time or this stage of his management?
Yeah, I am surprised. I'm surprised he changed things up as much as he did. I was expecting a little pinch of pragmatism, just a little bit of sitting back when it was required, and then going on the front foot. But then, obviously, the 11 came out. It changed things up a little bit. It looked to me, Brentford was a really good example of the players playing for him and digging deep and getting a 2-0 result on Sunday. But then today, on the flip, it looked like it looked completely different. They looked defeated. The manager, in his press conference, as Craig rightly pointed out, he looked defeated as well, and obviously that is quite a natural feeling after you've just been battered 4-0. That makes sense to me. I am surprised at the performance today. And I think it must come from the leadership within that playing group. And, I was saying earlier that Sonny's a great captain and he's got great personality, great character, all those kinds of things. But as I said towards the end of my commentary too, I don't think that when it's time to take the game by the scruff of the neck and when it's time to get aggressive and on the front foot, I don't feel that it's there. That was coming from a 19-year-old kid that arrived at the club 3 days ago, basically, tonight. That's where our energy was coming from. And it was, that is also a blueprint of what Tottenham should be aiming to have. A Bayern Munich setup where you've got even 19-year-old kids that are the future, stepping up in big games and everyone is on the same page and everyone's pulling in the same direction. It feels like, I would say the way I would describe it is that the ambition is scattered. You've probably got, a management team that wants to do well. Players, are they comfortable? There's been guys that have been there a very long time that have been there for 10 years, some a little bit less than that. Are they comfortable and being happy, as Conte pointed out in his his infamous last press conference at Southampton? Are they comfortable just not being successful? I think it comes from a much higher position than what the manager is in, and we know that. We know we always talk about this on all of the potties, and it starts at the head of the snake and it works its way down. If they're not ambitious about the football, then how the heck are you going to get anybody else to be ambitious about it too? So, yeah, it looked to me that the players were pretty defeated out there today, and as we've said, that it was a very lackluster performance from start to finish, really.
Matt, let's come to you. I'm not going to go through all of the match incidents because there's very little to talk about from a Spurs point of view, particularly in that final third with us not having a shot on target all evening. We're going to talk about the goals themselves. Gakpo, of course, put Liverpool 1-0 up after 34 minutes. Matt, what did you make of this first goal that Liverpool scored?
I think I touched on it earlier. It just the lack of cohesion between the three of them. It was we had possession of the ball to underpass in that situation. It's just not been careful enough in that situation, which led to obviously the first goal and the breakdown and the right, and that obviously that set them up. Obviously with the way we were playing, with the way that we set up. Just when we had the ball, we had to make the most of every chance. And I always think the philosophy, if you're going to play on the break, if that's your kind of way to play, you've got to make sure you make the passes. And I felt there was a couple before that they'd given the ball away where they'd not made the pass. And I was thinking, oh, come on, guys, just settle down, just play the pass. When we get the breaks, we've got to make the most of the chances we get to move forward. And that was just a classic example of it. And they were punished. And they could have been punished before, but they were punished with that. And it was a simple case of, Sarr, Basuma and Bentancur not on the same wavelength. And I don't know what the briefing was, what they were given, but I would have thought if you're set up to defend the way you are, then when you get the ball to attack, you will push forward. I noticed a couple of times, even when the young lad came on, when Tell came on, he was saying, move forward, come forward, let's go forward, come on, push up. There just didn't seem to be that urgency in getting the ball forward or moving forwards to attack. And, there's a basic rule that I've learned in football. I'm still playing football now, and I'm nearly 61. I'm still playing football 5-a-side every Wednesday, is that, the only way you win games is if you put the ball in the back of the other opposition's net. So the way to do that is you've got to be, sort of offensive. When you're moving forward, you've got to be playing with an attack mind. So that was kind of what I thought. And with that first goal, that was a classic example. They didn't seem any conviction in what they were doing. They weren't on the same wavelength. Liverpool, who had the desire to score, they played their patience. They went forward. They made the attack and they scored. End of story.
Matt, how are you feeling at the halfway point? Because I tell you what, inside the stadium, I saw a number of friends and people that I know and talk to on a regular basis about Spurs, and everyone around me seemed to be very down. And I said, look, it's not over. It's only half time, and it's 1-1 on aggregate. We're still in this. We've still got a chance. I was trying to give people some positive vibes and saying, this isn't over. And Postecoglou will give them an absolute rollicking at half time. We will come out and we will be fighting. It didn't happen. But how are you feeling at that point?
No, it's funny. I just felt all night. My daughter came out of a room, actually, came to see me. And she said, they're not going to win this, are they? And I looked at her and I said, do you know, they're not. No. It just had that feeling, just from, I don't know what it is. It's just sometimes you get a feeling that something magical can happen, or you feel there's a belief in what's going on. And at halftime, I just felt Liverpool were just thinking, right, that's played into our hands. We can enjoy ourselves now. We can come out in the second half. We can play our football. And they did exactly that. And I have no idea what Ange said at halftime. I've been up to Anfield. I've been there enough times to see Spurs lose. And there are certain times you go there to go to games where you think, I mean, my brother's, I've told you before, is a season ticket holder at Chelsea. And I've been there enough time during the 90s, and we never won anyway. I used to sit there and go, we're never going to win this. We never, you know. And I just had that feeling at half time that it's great that you're being positive, and very often I try to be. I'm trying to kid myself, yeah, let's get up, we're going to do this. But just from a minute while, I just thought, we're done. I just didn't think the attitude was right from the start. And the second half, there's been a few times this season where we've come out and we've conceded really early. And again, it happened. I mean, the penalty was ridiculous. I mean, you know, Kinski, he's a confident guy, and I've got friends in the Czech Republic, and I talk to them about him, and they like him very much, and he's a confident guy. But that was such a naive challenge. It was such a naive to go for the ball. He was never going to get there first. So why didn't he just, you know, hold his arms back, let the guy take the ball and move forward? He wasn't going towards goal. He was going away from goal. I just never understand why a goalkeeper makes that challenge. I just don't get it.
Craig, let's come to you. Matt says in the comments here, Chris, do you think that Ange Postecoglou does give them a rollicking? I'm not sure he does, because they often come out even worse. Yeah. What do you think he would have said to them at half-time this evening?
Do you know what? For the first time, I've no idea. I've no idea. Does he bollock them? Does he like, come on, lads, just keep doing what you're doing. We're 45 minutes away. Although it was a tie by then, wasn't it? I would imagine he would want them up the pitch a little bit and trying to get them up the pitch. I don't think he would have been shouting and screaming, because the scoreline probably didn't reflect the chances Liverpool had in that first half. I mean, I know it didn't, but I would imagine he was fairly calm at half time. But I'll tell you one thing: if the club puts out a Liverpool v Tottenham highlights on YouTube tomorrow, really.
It's just come out now.
You're joking, really? Oh my God! Do they not read the room? They don't need to do that. Who's going to want to watch that? Seriously? Oh God, this club. Oh yeah. I mean, the penalty. Just going on from what Matt said there. That was the second goal, wasn't it? I thought it was a bit naive from Kinski, actually. I think he rushed out. I don't think he was ever going to get there, and definite penalty. And generally, you know what's going to happen when Mo Salah has the ball at his feet on the spot, and that's what happened. Yeah, not the best way to start the second half.
Yeah, the highlights actually came out 6 minutes ago, so it's available on YouTube to watch if you so dare. Craig, both you and Matt have touched on it. The Mo Salah penalty, of course, Kinski making that challenge. And what do you make of Kinski this evening? Because I felt in the first half that he commanded his area extremely well. There was one or two punches that he made that he probably could have been given a big shout from his teammate, and he didn't get it. But what did you make of his performance? Because Vicario is coming back very, very soon. Vicario, I suppose, walks straight back into the starting 11, does he?
I would say after the second half performance, I don't think he was very good in the second half, Kinski. I think he's a really good keeper. I think he's had some brilliant games for us. But that punch in the first half, you're right. I don't blame the goalkeeper for that. It should be his defenders saying, time, no one around you, free catch or something like that. That on him, and it wasn't a particularly good punch anyway. I think I agree, to be honest. I thought he was okay in the first half. Second half, I just thought he made a few errors there, but he was up against Liverpool. They were attacking the Kop end. They love to attack the Kop end second half, like we like to attack our south stand, and the wind behind them, figuratively. And I think that was when that penalty went in from Salah there. That game for me was only going to go one way then. I knew we were going to go out, sadly, because like has been said before, didn't get that feeling today. Anything special was going to happen. No Ajax moments or anything like that. Very, very sad evening this evening.
Yeah, there were a handful of fans actually left when Liverpool went 2-1 up. 2-0 up, 2-1 on aggregate. Craig, let's come to you on the third goal. Szoboszlai, of course, scoring after 75 minutes, making it 3-0, 3-1 on aggregate. What did you make of this one?
Well, as you can see there, midfield tracking back, spaces everywhere, massive gap between our centre backs. And yeah, he could have picked out 2 passes there. And to be honest, it was a great finish, great pass, great finish. I saw somebody said Kinski should have done a bit better with that, but you know, it was a good finish. It was a really good finish, and yeah, as you say, by that stage, the game was gone, wasn't it? I think even the most optimistic Tottenham fan didn't think we were coming back from that.
Blake, let's come to you. On 80 minutes, of course, Van Dijk made it 4-0. What did you make of this one?
Oh, I think by this stage as well, in that last little period of the game, you know, as Craig said, even the most optimistic fans were gone, and it showed on the field too with the poor defending in this spot, and they looked like they rolled over it by this point, and yeah, it was just poor defending, and it looked like the fight was well and truly gone by this point as well. So there's not much really else to expand on it by this point. You know, going into a 4-0 deficit, it was really tricky, and there was no coming back. No 2019 Champions League semi-final feel about it, nothing like that. And yeah, disappointing finish. And yeah, I think I speak on behalf of most fans. I think we were all deflated by this point, and it was really hard to remain positive. So yeah,
I've got to admit, I think it's hard for all of us to turn up to the podcast this evening. Although Matt actually did volunteer his services this evening to come on and talk. Matt, let's come to you on Sunday's game, because, of course, we face Aston Villa in the FA Cup on Sunday. How do you think this game's going to go? How are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? Because, of course, we are 14th. Before that Brentford game on Sunday, 1 win in 10 in the Premier League. Of course, we won at Brentford. A good performance, a good result for us. Of course, losing 4-0 this evening here. We go into that Villa game. You know, FA Cup, we haven't won an FA Cup since 1991. I hate that stat because it is absolutely ridiculous. We haven't won a trophy in 17 years. How are you feeling ahead of Sunday's match? Because, you know, also, although Spurs got some business done, Aston Villa got some exceptional business done. You know, really backing manager Emery, and he's done a fantastic job there. I know some of the guys have said already that we do have a good record, you know, certainly recently against Aston Villa, but this is going to be a tough game on Sunday.
It will be. It'll be a very tough game on Sunday. They'll be totally up for this. You know, I'm always the optimist. You know, the glass is always half full as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I've been following Spurs a very long time, and I always think that, you know, you always go back to the best nights you ever had, and football's one of those games where, you know, it can turn in a moment and suddenly someone can step up. I think Villa are one of those teams that are similar to us, although they've won a Champions or a European Cup, which is, you know, more than what we've done, in the sense of that they have that kind of thing that they'll sing to us every time we play, that you'll never win that. Well, hopefully one day we will. But, you know, I think going into Sunday, I think the players have got something to prove. I think they probably feel they've let the fans down today. And I always feel when we've had a really bad performance that if there's another game coming up, and players will tell you, and I play myself, that you want the next game to come as quick as possible to try and right the wrongs. And they'll read all the press tomorrow about how lackluster they were, how pathetic they were, how they didn't. And hopefully that will resonate with some of them. That some of them will actually care that when they turn up on Sunday and realise that they've got to put in a performance, because 6,000 people, and you're one of them, turned up to Liverpool tonight to witness that. And I think, you know, the club should say to themselves, well, look, you know, we are a team that's playing in a cup competition. We have a great heritage in the FA Cup. And when we're in 91, I was at that cup final, and funnily enough, I sat behind Five Bellies, and Paul Gascoigne's brother. And when he got injured after 10 minutes, they all buggered off. And I couldn't see anything before the first 10 minutes, but they went and suddenly had a clear view of the pitch. So that was great. I mean, I'm sorry for Gaza, but actually had a great view of the game for the rest of the game. So that was a great experience. But yeah, I just think that we had such a heritage in the FA Cup, which sort of disappeared over the last 20 years. And now Arsenal, Man United have won more, and even Chelsea have now won as many FA Cups as us. That was always our thing. We were the FA Cup team, you know, we were the team that done it. So I think what they should do is they should get the whole team down, put them in a room, show them Ricky Villiers' goal, which was the best night I've ever had as a Spurs fan. Put them in front of them, watch those sort of things. Say, look, this is Tottenham's history. We were an FA Cup time. The FA Cup was what Tottenham was about. To go out there on Sunday and remember that. So if they go out with that attitude and the way that I feel that we should, then yeah, do it. Villa have got a great condition. Tottenham have got a tradition. Let's go out there and let's go for it like it's the most important game in the world. That's what I think.
Matt, do you think that Lucas Bergvall will start the game against Villa? Because he did seem to give a lot more energy in that second half for us.
Yeah, I think as I said to you the other day, and I think when I came on, I said to you that I don't think he'd start with Bergvall. I think the reason he didn't do that was because he knew that would fire the Liverpool fans up. Obviously, with a bit of controversy of what happened before, I think what he did was, in fact, he got a few boos tonight. You were probably there, so you probably heard it. I did hear every time he touched the ball, there were a few boos coming from Anfield crowd, and I think Postecoglou didn't want to make him the issue, didn't want to make it about him. And I thought if he'd done that, which he's done, so yeah, he should definitely start. I think he gives the midfield a bit of energy, he gives them a bit of desire, and he moves forward. I think the more positive players they have on the pitch, I like the look at Tell. I think he looked like he wanted to show. He got one sort of half shot away, I think, which was great. I like Danso. I thought he was good as well. I thought he showed that he can command the noise. I think given some time, he also liked to push forward. A couple of breaks he moved forward. So I think the more positive players we have forward, I think Postecoglou should say on Sunday, look, my job's on the line here. Guys, just go for it and see what happens. That's my opinion.
Craig, how are you feeling ahead of Sunday's match?
Not good. If we don't get any of the players back that are injured currently, I can only see this going one way, and that'll be a Villa win, sadly. I'm not going to sit here, and I'd love to be optimistic about it, but perhaps I'll feel differently tomorrow. But just logic would say to me that they're just going to turn us over if we turn up and play like that. Yep. Then it's only going to go one way. I'm sorry. Look, with a bit of luck, we might even have a couple of players back. I've just not got a feeling Van der Ven's going to be back anytime soon. Romero as well. That means the defenders aren't going to get a break at all. Midfield, I agree. I think Bergvall should come in there. Is Maddison anywhere near back? Possibly not. But we'll see. I'm just very nervous for this game. Look, I love the FA Cup. Great tradition. I've spoken here about it many, many times. Loved the FA Cup growing up as a kid. It was always that Saturday in May. It was like almost a full day event, 3:00 kickoff at the old Wembley. It always used to be sunny from what I remember. Yeah. Really weird the things you remember, but obviously I've been lucky enough to see Tottenham win, I think, 6 trophies in my lifetime. And the FA Cup was obviously the 80s, 81, 82, got to the final 87, we lost, and then 91 again. And it always seemed like we were in the FA Cup final challenging. And as you say, 1991, that's what, 36 years? Haven't won an FA Cup for. It's just not good enough. Absolutely not good enough. And sadly, this year I can only see it going one way again. So I will go for, I hate doing this. I really hate doing this. But at the moment, with everything we know, no, I'm not even going to tell you, but you know what I'm going to say. Yeah. So
no, we don't need to do score predictions. It's fine, Craig. I didn't ask. Don't worry.
Good.
I wouldn't do it to you. Craig, Charles Preston, one of our regular viewers, he seems to be very strong opinionated on the whole Basuma things. Basuma starting the game today ahead of Lucas Bergvall. What do you make of Basuma's form? Because we all agreed before we came on air that it was going to be a short podcast this evening because 1, it's late, and 2, we just don't want to get into just slagging players for the whole of the podcast, which can be very easy after a performance like this evening and a result like this evening. But what do you make of Bissouma's form? Because I've said all season, I think that, I want to see Richarlison. I want to see the Richarlison that played for Everton in a Spurs shirt, and I want to see the Bissouma that played for Brighton in a Spurs shirt. Why are we not seeing that Bissouma in a Spurs shirt, in your opinion? And do you think that Bergvall will start ahead of him?
I do think Bergvall will start ahead of Bissouma. I thought Bissouma tonight was not very good at all. But that's, the other two midfielders weren't very good either. Bissouma is so hit and miss. He'll have a game or he'll come on in a game and he looks really good. And you think, that's the Bissouma we want to see. And then the next week he comes out and he's awful. And it's just that inconsistency. And I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why, because he should be in his prime. The Bissouma at Brighton was an unbelievable player. I remember when we bought him, I thought, wow, they're really making a statement here, getting Brighton's probably best player. But look, that's a perfect comment there. The result I can live with, the performance I can't. Absolutely, that goes not just for Bissouma, it goes for the whole team. If you see the players putting in the effort, you don't mind at all. But I'm at a loss with that performance tonight, because it just gets boring, doesn't it? I think that's all I can say on it. It just gets boring. It's kind of expected. I was never the most confident about tonight. I did say in the short video I did that I thought we would just scrape it on penalties, but as soon as Liverpool scored, to be honest, I knew the game was up.
And lastly, Blake, what are you thinking ahead of Sunday's match?
I think if we're going on recent form against Villa, I think there is cautious optimism. I like to use that word a fair bit. But if we put in a performance like tonight, I think it could be pushing shit uphill again, to be honest. Sorry, got to try and laugh about something, I suppose. But honestly, I think we do have a good record against Villa, particularly in the Prem in recent times. There's been some 4-0 batterings in there. When we're on and when we're on the front foot against them, end to end, we do get the better of them. And that was, if you remember back to Villa Park last year as well, it was a 4-0 defeat. A 4-0 victory over Villa. And we took them apart. Sonny was on fire that day. I think he's got a big point to prove after tonight as well. So, as do most of the players, there's going to be players in that dressing room right now that are thinking, I need to put my best foot forward. I agree. I think actually Bergvall will start over Bissouma. As Craig said, he's so hit and miss. Like you get really good versions of him. You get him turning players inside out. You get him pivoting and opening up the play. And then you get performances where he's just putting his body in the way or doing ridiculous tackles in the box or, very, very erratic performances from him at the best of times. So I think we do need to get our heads back up. It's a very difficult thing after a belting. We've got to remember how good Liverpool are too. Full credit to them because they are a very good side. But I don't see why we can't at least try and put in 110% effort in against Villa on Sunday and get a result. And I think it'll be in extra time. I don't think it'll be in the first 90 if we do get a result. So we're going to have to grind another one out. And the last point I wanted to make too is I don't believe that there's ever an easy cup run. You've either got a really tricky Premier League fixture at home or away, or you play a team that's less than you that we saw at Tamworth and they'll look to grind out a result. So I think we've got an opportunity in front of us with Villa, and given our previous form, I think there is a chance there. So, yeah, I guess that's the little piece of optimism that I hope to take into that game.
We've got to keep the goodbyes very, very quick because not only have Liverpool knocked us out of the cup this evening, Everton are now booting me out of the car park. So I've got to go pretty sharpish. So, Blake, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Where can people find you on social media? And I promise to get you back on a happier podcast in the very near future.
Chris, Matt, Craig, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for having me tonight. On Blue Sky and X, Mr. Blakey D, also on Instagram. Really appreciate you having me on the show, and I know it's dire circumstances, so keep your heads up, Spurs fans. I know it's tough, but there's better days coming.
Thank you, Blake. Pleasure having you on. And Matt, thank you so much for filling in. Tell everyone about you, your band, what you're up to.
No, before I do that, I want to actually apologise because apparently when I came in the other day, I had a few drinks the other night when you had me on, and I upset one of your followers. I didn't mean to. I was just telling a story. I didn't tell it very well, and I just didn't want to upset that person. So I'm not that. It was a funny story, but I just didn't tell it right. So it's difficult what you can say in these 2 hours. I'm no Gianno Di Campo, promise you that. But yeah, I'm gigging tomorrow night. I'm playing in Carlisle. I was in the Rockmantic Festival with Ransom, so we're playing a big festival this weekend. So I'm off there tomorrow morning, a long drive up to there, and then I'm going to come back on Sunday. I might stop off at Villa Park. You never know on the way back, so I might get to see it. But yeah, ransom.rocks. Come and follow the band anywhere you want. And thank you. It's great to meet you, Blake. I love your country. You looked after me very well when I went out there. You have a wonderful country, great people. Australia is an amazing country. I know that Chris has been there, so it's been great. And Craig, always a pleasure to see you. Intelligent, wonderful as always. And hey, that's me. See you later.
Thank you, Matt. And Craig, thank you so much. And you'll be back on the channel tomorrow with your thoughts of the day.
yeah, absolutely. God, that could last a while, couldn't it? Look at Dearman9 on X if you want to give me a follow. Thanks to everybody for watching on what this is a horrendous performance by Spurs. 2,000 or so of you watching. So please don't have nightmares. Do sleep well. Because Nick, who was that? Nick Ross, was it used as Owen Crime? Was that his name?
Watch, yeah. Since you've coloured your beard, you look like you should be on there.
That's made me laugh. I haven't laughed all evening. Oh God.
Yeah, I'm sorry to all of the viewers and listeners that it is a shorter podcast this evening, but I don't think there's any point recording anymore and going over the same old stuff. So we'll be back again on Sunday after the Aston Villa game when hopefully we can progress far in the FA Cup. Let's wait and see. But yeah, thanks so much for all of your support as always. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you again soon. Come on, you Spurs.
Go on, you Spurs.
Thank you.